Alright, we're going to talk about finding the area of a sector. So remember, area is like if I put the graph paper over and count the little squares. We're using millimeters here, so it would be really small graph paper, but you know, how many squares would that be? Alright? Now we talked about in the last video doing lengths, arc lengths. Now we're finding part of the total area. Okay, so the part, let me use pink here, the part of the whole, remember that's what percent is, right? This right here is just percent. Okay, so for example, both these circles, it's less than half, much less. It's less than a quarter, right? Half would be 50%, a quarter is 25%. You know, a percent means out of 100. So these are going to be 60 out of 360, just to make sure you understand what that means. 60 divided by 360, I'm talking about 17% here. Okay, so it's a small part of this whole circle. So if I found the whole area, this is going to be much less, right? Okay, so how many squares would this be if I found the area of it? By the way, sector. Sector is like a pie piece, but you'd have to cut your pie really perfectly because it has to come from the center of the circle. So you're using a central angle. So if this arc is 60 degrees, remember that angle there had to be 60. You can't see that. Okay, so what's this other thing here? Oh, wait, we're finding part of what? We're finding a percent of what? We're finding a percent of the total area this time. So, you know, students have a hard time sometimes. Which formula am I using right here? I mean, if you're using your formula sheet, this isn't hard. You're doing these two things the exact same way. You're finding a percent of the whole. So here we want 60 out of 360 degrees, and we're going to multiply that by the whole area. We come to our formula sheet. This is a little easier than length. Length, they don't use the word circumference, so sometimes you have to think for a second. Area, that should be obvious. Area is there with an A. We're finding part of that total area. So we're going to do, can I do this with, can we see both here? We're going to do this formula right here. So pi, make sure we have the radius. Area, you have to use the radius. From the center out is the radius. So yeah, we have the radius. It's 12. So pi r squared. And we just get our calculator out and type that. Okay? So we want 60 out of the 360 degrees. Pi 12 squared. Oops, I got a comma in there. Okay, pi r squared. So our area here is going to be about 75.4, and this is in squares, so we're using square millimeters. Alright, so obviously this one's going to be bigger, right? Talking about, you know, what is obvious and what's not obvious, again, let me just make sure this is all kind of making sense what we're doing. We're finding part of this total area. For this circle, the area of the whole circle, if I found all of the circle, it's going to be pi times 12, the radius is 12, squared. It's going to be really, really big, right? So yeah, this should be small. This should be, that looks good to me, finding part of that. Okay, same thing here. The only thing that would be different is now our radius is 20. So I'm just going to type this one into the calculator. So we're doing 20 divided by 3, well, no we're not, we're doing, what are we doing? Maybe I should write it down. 60 out of 360, that's the part we want out of the whole. And we're going to multiply that by the total area, pi r squared. Okay, see, that's why we write things down. 60 divided by 360 times pi 20 squared. 209.4 square millimeters. Okay, so I'm going to do one of them over here. So I'm just going to do one. I don't think I need to do a whole bunch here. Maybe I will do two. Okay, here I'm finding, what am I finding? Directions. I should read directions. Find the area of the shaded regions. Okay, so the shaded part here is here. Is it the 310? No, that's too big. 310 is everything else. So I need to subtract from 360. Oops. 360 subtract minus 50 degrees. Okay, so I want 50 out of 360, and I'm using area. Again, this one shouldn't be confusing. It's the same on the formula sheet. Area pi r squared. So pi times the radius, yep, I got it right there, 7, and I'm just typing it in my calculator. You know, if you have a multiple choice question or your teacher wants you to do in terms of pi, you just don't push pi. Or what you do is you put your answers in and work backwards. I don't really need parentheses. You see there's different ways to enter this. I'll do the next one without parentheses. 21.4, right? We're finishing here. The 8 says make it bigger, so 21.4. And these are square meters. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do the next one because I want to talk about, first of all, there's no numbers. Oh my god, wait a minute. This is a semicircle. That's a diameter. This is half the circle. Now notice, I said half the circle. You can use this formula, okay? Now, when I do area, area is, go to my formula sheet, pi r squared. Radius is from the center out. Okay, look at the picture. This is in the center, so this is indicating a diameter. So if the diameter is 20, I have to use the radius. Okay, so pi, again, I'm not making this up or guessing, it's right here. Okay, pi times the radius is 10 squared. Now, I don't need to enter this with parentheses, right? I can do 180 divided by 360 times pi r squared. Just like I see it, right? Something else I wanted to say as you're writing this down. Some people say, well, it's just the whole circle, it's just half of the whole circle. Yeah, you're exactly right. If you simplify this fraction, which I never bothered doing because I'm using this calculator, it's going to do everything for me. I'm not showing my steps, I just need an answer here. I have 157 point, that's 7 makes, right, 7, if I go to the ones place, or the tenths place here, that's a 1. Goes up to a 1. And I'm doing feet here, square feet. Ooh. So as you're writing that down, the whole circle, if I use the area formula, if I just went here and I'm doing this, pi, the radius was 10, right? That's the area of the whole circle, right? I just want half of it. Divide that by 2. Cut it into 2 equal circles. Aren't those 2 semicircles equal? So divide it by 2. That's going to find you the same answer. I mean, because that's what you're doing. You're finding a percent or half of 50 over 100. You're finding part of a whole. So yeah, it is half of the whole area. That's another way to do it. But if you want to do it the same way every time, you know, if you want to get in that habit, that's how I would do it. Okay, so you can do a little more practice here before you move on.